You want me to feed the computer a Twinkie? Boo asked. Baz turned the box upside down and another data chip slid out. One more little gift from Mac and Dev. It's a worm, a nasty one, that should temporarily cripple the Jarek security system space-wide. Locks, alarms, cameras, defense grids. All you two have to do is find a terminal and plug it in. That's it? After Skits locates Dr. Fender, Cat amended. Yeah, let's not forget that part, Leo added softly. So we disable the base security and tell you and Cat where to get the Stowaway's father, and then you what, just go break him out? Skits asked. That's the plan, Baz said. More or less. Bastion Black, that is a terrible plan, Skits said. There are at least 349 things that could go wrong with that plan. Tell her that, Baz pointed at Cat, definitely pre-assigning blame this time. Leo shook his head. For once, he agreed with Skits. You expect a robot plastered with bumper stickers and a hairy four-armed giant to sneak around a Jarek base without getting noticed? Actually, I'm about average height for my people, Boo noted. And I can be stealthy when I need to be, Skits whirred. Though the last time Leo had seen her in action, she had music blaring out of her speakers, flames shooting out of her belly, and smoke pouring out of her rear. Skits is right, Baz said. There are hundreds of ways that this can go wrong. Once we are down there, we will probably have to improvise. But unless anyone has a better idea? The captain gave a full 10 seconds, looking at each of them in turn, just to make the point. When his eyes landed on Leo, Leo stared back, unblinking, until the captain turned away. Mutiny it is, Boo said. What about me? Leo asked. What do I do? For now, you stand here and just look like you belong, Baz said. Because you've made it pretty clear that I don't, Leo thought. How do I do that? You know, try to look more like a pirate, Cat suggested. Poke out an eyeball or something. I can help with that, Skits offered. Leo was sure Cat was joking. Skits, not so much. He settled for fixing his face in what hoped to be a vicious-looking sneer. Speaking of which, we will need this mutiny to look convincing as well, Baz said, looking directly at Cat. It took a moment for Leo to figure out what he was hinting at, but she seemed to catch on immediately. You're serious? They'll never believe I surrendered without a fight, he said. Besides, you can't tell me that you've never thought about it. 2 or 3 times a day at minimum, Cat said. But that doesn't mean I was ever going to do it. Well, now's your chance, the captain said. And make it good. They need to see the bruise. Cat shrugged. Okay, just remember you asked for it. Cat clenched her fingers into fists. Baz closed his eyes. Leo didn't dare. He definitely wanted to watch. Katerina Correa was naturally right-handed, but her left packed more of a punch, the benefits of having a fist made of titanium. Baz instantly crumbled to his knees, both his hands flying to his jaw. He spat a colorful pink glob on the cockpit floor. Leo was a little surprised no teeth came out with it. The left? Really? You said to make it look good. And I didn't want to bruise my knuckles, Cat explained. She knelt down and put her softer hand on Baz's shoulder. Sorry, Captain. You're the captain now, Southpaw, he said. Working his jaw slowly back and forth, he showed his profile to Leo. The split lip, cut cheek, a purple bloom already starting to work its way to the surface. How does it look? Leo winced. That was answer enough. It better look good, Boo said, pointing to the main console and the screen flashing red. We already have company. Jarek Patrol. 2 of them, headed this way. So much for optimism. No time for the blood to dry, Baz said, letting Cat help him to his feet. Leo reached into the trunk beside him and pulled out a set of cuffs. Might as well make the look complete. Leo found the trunk in question, containing the mostly greasy tools, but buried beneath near the bottom was a pair of metal handcuffs. Not near as fancy as the energy binders that the Ikari used to transport their prisoners, but they would do. He handed them to Baz, who slipped them on. Tight enough to be convincing, but not tight enough that he couldn't squeeze out of them if he had to. Leo had once owned a set of trick cuffs used in magic shows with his mom. He'd left them in his own trunk in his room, light years away. Now he was about to help pull off some sleight of hand that was way higher stakes than any magic he'd ever done. As Baz clicked the cuffs closed, Cat took the pilot's seat and a new set of lights began to blink. They're hailing us, she said. She pointed to Boo and Skits. You two, go in the back and get ready. We don't want them to know you're on board. Leo still wasn't sure what he should do, so he just kept scowling. He could see the 2 ships closing in. One of them spat a laser blast across the Icarus's nose. Warning shots were an unusual courtesy for the Jarek. There had been no warning shots when they had attacked the Beagle. There certainly hadn't been any warning shots the day Leo's world went up in flames, though maybe they had been the warning for the people of Earth to stay out of the war. It didn't work. Get down on your knees, Kat commanded. Leo got to his knees. She means me, Baz said. With a grunt, Baz knelt down. Kat flipped a switch at the center screen, crackled and fuzzed before revealing 2 Jarek soldiers in uniform. Seeing them again, their scaled hides, their black eyes, Leo felt a wave of revulsion and anger surge through him. He thought of him and his brother huddled in the dark room, their backs pressed against the wall, Gareth smoothing his hair, thought of the pieces of the beagle scattered to the stars, the flocks of seagulls taking flight away from the blinding flash and rising smoke. His mother sitting on the porch with her lonely blade of grass. Unknown craft. You are trespassing on Jarek-controlled territory. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed. Not much for pleasantries, are they? Kat touched a button below the screen. This is Katerina Correa, captain of the Icarus. This man beside me is Bastian Daedalus Black, a known criminal wanted by the Jarek Empire for the acts of piracy. Baz grimaced menacingly, licking the blood from his crack in his lip, playing it up for the audience. Leo stood just behind him, come to collect whatever his stinking, cowardly hide is worth. On the vid screen, the 2 Jarek soldiers leaned together, conferring. Finally, the first alien faced them again. Hold your current course and wait for further instructions. The screen went black and the communication ended. They've jammed our long-range comms, and those fighters are locked on. I don't think they're buying it, Kat said. I should have punched you harder. I really don't think that's possible, Baz told her. Oh, it's possible. The console flashed, the vid screen coming to life again. Captain Correa, you are to disable your ship's weapons and then proceed to the landing bay 3 under firefighter escort. Any deviation will result in immediate termination. Understood, Kat said, cutting off the comms. She nodded at Baz. Guess it was hard enough after all. We're in. Leo allowed himself a breath. They had gone right up to the front door and knocked, and now they were being ushered inside, right into a house full of monsters. Kat turned back to the controls, keeping the Icarus in line with the 2 Jarek fighters, as they descended into the planet's atmosphere, breaking through the gunmetal gray clouds to reveal a sprawling outpost with multiple towers and platforms tethered together by tunnels and bridges built on the surface of a black alloy that the Jarek used to build all of their ships. Dotted along the surface, as far as Leo could see, sat dozens of giant smoke-belching machines, with their feet anchored into the planet's crust. The shape of the construction was different from the ones that the Ikari had brought to Earth, but Leo immediately understood their purpose. Ventisium, he whispered. The planet must be full of it, Baz marveled. We aren't here to steal V, Kat reminded him. We are here to get Leo's father back. I know, but it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Just how many planets out there are even left, and what happens when all of them run out? Then I guess we're out of a job, Kat said. Or maybe the war would end, Leo murmured. After all, if there was no V, maybe there would be nothing to fight over, or at least no way for anyone to go too far from home to do the fighting. For those who still had a home, that is. The escorts are peeling off. Leo squinted through the screen at the giant hangar that they were headed toward, currently occupied by a cargo freighter twice the size of the Icarus, no doubt designed to transport Ventisium cores to the places where the fighting was the fiercest. It was the kind of ship that would make a tempting target for a pirate, Leo guessed. I have to hand it to you, Baz, Kat said, as she settled the Icarus next to the freighter. I mean, we've done some crazy stuff before, but only the worst pirate in the world would be dumb enough to try and pull off a stunt like this. Baz winked at her and wiped the blood from his lip on his sleeve. The Icarus docked, and Leo followed the new captain and her loosely cuffed captive to the back of the ship where Skitz and Boo were waiting. There's probably a security checkpoint with a control terminal next to the landing bay, Baz instructed. Hopefully you two can sneak in and access it without attracting any attention. Baz instructed. Hopefully you two can sneak in and access it without attracting any attention. Kat's got the intercom, so you can talk to her, but obviously we can't talk directly to you without giving ourselves away. As soon as you have Dr. Fender's location, you plant that worm and shut down security. Then get back to the ship. Cap and I will meet you there. Leo cleared his throat emphatically. Wait, what about me? Aren't I coming with? Sorry, Baz said. You're staying on the ship. Skitz snorted. Leo didn't know robots could snort, but she did. A huff of air through her speakers. Sucks to be you, she added. Leo opened his mouth to protest, but Baz cut him off. Listen, Leo, I get it. He's your dad, and I know you want to help, but I'm not going to risk your life trying to save his. This is a Jarek base. This whole operation could go south in a heartbeat. Yeah? And then what? Leo asked. Somebody starts shooting at me? We have to make a quick getaway? Maybe I almost fall off a bridge? He stared at the captain, refusing to look down at his feet this time. Besides, what do you care, he thought. Or are you worried that your ransom will be less if I don't make it? He's my father, and I'm coming, Leo insisted. And as the captain of the ship, I'm telling you you're not, Baz returned. Except you aren't the captain. Leo looked at Kat. Well, the kid's got a point, she said. It's not as if we've done a stellar job keeping him out of harm's way up till now. And he's come in handy before, Boo added, holding up his injured arm. Bastion Black shook his head. Fine, but if anyone asks, you're just a cabin boy. Also, you're mute. Wait, why do I have to? Mute, Baz insisted, putting a finger up to his lips. Leo shut his mouth. I don't want you saying anything to blow our cover. At least I am allowed to talk, Skit said, swiveling her head so Leo could see her smile. Not once you're off the ship, you're not. Stealthy, remember, Kat reminded her. As a ninja turtle, the robot said. Baz looked over his crew, the handful of misfits and exiles he'd taken in, plus one coalition stowaway. All right, hands in. He placed his two cuffed hands in the center of the circle, followed by the one that Kat was born with and the one that of Boo's furry mitts. Skits extended one of her own metal claws. They all looked at Leo. Well, you coming or not? Baz said. Leo took a deep breath and added his hand to the pile.